The views and opinions expressed on Coffee and Compatibility are those of the podcast host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of ASHI.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Compatibility. I am Eric Weimer, and as always, I am joined by Dr. Kelly Hitchman and Jeremy Sherrill. How are you two doing?
You know, I am still recovering from the whirlwind that was the ASHI 50th annual meeting in Anaheim. It was there was so much, it was deep, it was awesome. I am of the opinion, I've been to a few ASHI meeting. I am of the opinion that it was like the most outstanding meeting that we've had. Kudos to the ASHI staff. They rocked it out. That meeting was quality. Some people that had their opportunity to have that be their first ASHI meeting. Wow. Incredible sessions. It was amazing.
Yeah, the educational content was amazing. The networking opportunities were amazing. Of course, it was awesome seeing great friends again. But yeah, the content of the meeting was absolutely top notch this year. And next year, right, we're in Orlando, right? So we're going from Disneyland to Disney World next year.
Thank you for getting that correct, Jeremy. You can stay on the podcast now.
So actually, I heard a trick on the news that land has LA in it and world is ORL, like Orlando, right? So like it's got the land and the Orlando, so you know which is which.
We'll let you have that one.
Incredible. Mind blown.
Right?
How did I not know about this?
Oh, see, now you can't see this, but listeners, I am getting confirmation in the chat that our executive producer saw it too. So it's not just me.
Okay.
It's a great trick.
That does not prove anything because sometimes she just goes along with it because you're Dr. Kelly Hitchman, Queen Bee.
I'm sure I'm sure those are all the reasons that she thought about not throwing that out there. But she's going to support me, and I appreciate that. Thank you, executive producer Gloria. I appreciate you. Yeah, everything was on point. The costumes were on point.
Oh,
I mean, it was. I did think that you basically nailed Ursula. It was.
I got to be honest here. The costumes, 10 out of 10. However, I was a little bit disappointed that there wasn't a musical number. I was kind of anticipating that you were going to break out into song at some point, and I never got that. So, got to take points off for.
Yeah,
no
I thought
musical
about
performance.
it, but I had to, put the purple on my face, and it was just very, very brushed. I felt
We
very
should do an
rushed.
entire
For next
episode
year.
on how long it took Kelly to get into that getup.
It did, and did you notice, like, I didn't get to go around the back? My neck was still neck colored. Everybody was very kind about ignoring that my neck was still neck colored. But anyway,
I mean, it happens
next year.
Yeah.
Next year.
It happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't tell you how excited I am. Today, our guest is a technologist in the ASHI community, a rising star in the ASHI community, who is going to give us the perspective of a first-time attendee. So our guest today, Katie Mellon, had her first ASHI annual meeting experience at the 50th anniversary meeting. So it was a good one. It was a good one. But sadly, the annual meeting is over. We're on to new initiatives. The new year is almost upon us. Happy holidays, everyone, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, Jeremy, do you want to share any exciting things or any exciting updates that ASHI has?
I don't know if I would call it exciting, but we do have an update to announce to everyone, and that is that we want to make sure that everyone is aware that starting January the 1st of 2025, the price of ASHI U modules is changing. So those are going to go from $10 to access the ASHI U modules to $45. However, the lowest membership tier to become an ASHI member starts at $45 also. So take that into consideration as we jump into 2025.
Yeah, now those ASHI U modules are free for members, right? So the cost of a membership at the lowest tier is the cost of one ASHI U module in 2025. So the membership is worth its weight in gold, because as somebody who has used those modules, I used them when I was prepping for my directorship exam. I reference them to this day. I think they should be worth $1 million.
You heard it here first. We'll propose it to the board, $1 million for ASHI U access.
I
We'll see what
the
happens.
board will be with me on that one. But in other words, now's the time. Renew your membership before the end of the year. And if you're not yet an ASHI member, what are you waiting for? Become an ASHI member. It is worth its weight in gold. We've got unique educational opportunities on there. All webinars that ASHI gives are recorded and stored in ASHI U. The modules are outstanding and free for members. So yeah, think about joining ASHI if you haven't yet.
If you really want to know more about being an ASHI member, there is, guess what? A link to more of this, and we will make sure that this is in the description for the podcast, because it is way too long for me to read right now. So stay tuned for our upcoming aforementioned interview with Katie Mellon.
Hey, Coffee and Compatibility fans. As a token of our appreciation, we're giving you 10% off your entire purchase at the ASHI store from now until December 31st, 2024. Just use the code Witty Banter. That's all caps, no spaces. WITTYBANTER at the checkout, and get your hands on some fantastic ASHI gear. Thank you for all your support and loyalty. Head to the ASHI store today and enjoy your discount. Offer ends December 31st, so don't wait.
Of Coffee and Compatibility. Today, we are so excited to welcome Katie Mellon. Katie is a clinical technical specialist in the transplant immunology laboratory at Albany Medical College. After exploring different lab fields early in her career, she found her true home and passion in HLA and has never looked back. Katie is also deeply involved with ASHI, serving as the current chair of the Technologist Affairs Committee and contributing to the Abstract Committee. Outside of work, she loves volunteering at her local animal shelter. She travels and she cheers on her Buffalo Bills. Welcome, and I have to ask, may we call you Katie?
Of course, absolutely.
Thank you so much. We had, a little chatter before the show started. Yeah. Jeremy suggested some nicknames. We vetoed. So
yeah, I can't believe that didn't go through.
I know, right? But this is how it goes. Thank you, Katie, so much. So as I introduced you, I kind of mentioned that early in your career, you dabbled in a few areas outside of HLA. So the whole point of this episode is to introduce the field, for those who haven't met you yet, to a rock star technologist in the field of HLA, and for us to introduce the audience to you and learn about your journey. Because what better way to close out the 50th anniversary of ASHI than to talk about its future. We've been talking a lot about its past. Let's talk about its future. So tell us about your early career and how you found HLA.
So I started off as just a generalist. Well, actually, I started off in micro. I really found that wasn't for me. Went to be a generalist, chemistry, blood bank, urinalysis, all that fun stuff. Again, it just really wasn't for me. The thought of every day just putting on a tube on a machine and resulting in and that, for some people, that's their vibe, that's their thing. But for me, I didn't really have to use my brain that much. I felt like I was just putting a tube on a machine and just kind of resulting it as is. So it was just kind of boring. I didn't really like that. So I actually met Dr. Hahn, my director's son, and we were chit-chatting, and he's like, I was like, well, what do you do for a living, whatever, just small talk. And he's like, oh yeah, my mom does lab work, after I mentioned I did lab work. And I'm like, shut up. Nobody knows about the lab. We're such a little small community. Nobody knows about the lab. And he's like, yeah, she does lab work. So I was in a place where I really wanted to get out of being a generalist. She did HLA, and so kind of worked out, like, I think everything's meant to be, and everything happens for a reason. And I think meeting him and, then meeting his mom, or, now my director, and, finding this lab that I would have never known about if it wasn't really for him. So, 5 years later, I'm here. I'm still loving it every day. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, so the youthful energy is like awesome, because some of us on this podcast have been doing science and HLA for
Yeah,
a while.
I want to shout out that Amy Hahn is the director of your laboratory. She is the past editor-in-chief of Human Immunology. And apparently not only is she inspiring all kinds of great things in ASHI, her son is inspiring people even to get into the field. So way to go, Dr. Hahn. Way to go.
Legend.
Yeah,
right?
I know. She is so cool. Really an inspiration. And now she's retiring in a week, and I'm yeah, I don't have words.
This is incredible. Do we have like an ASHI HLA dynasty? Like, I don't think I've ever heard of a laboratory dynasty before. This might be a first. This is awesome.
I love a good dynasty. So, Katie, I wanted to ask you something, and this is actually a little bit more like local, personal, to me and our lab here, in that we have several, we'll say, new people to HLA. Some are directly out of med tech school, some are coming from other areas, much like yourself. But I'm curious, what would be your advice to them about HLA and being an active member as you are within ASHI? What am I going to tell them?
Yeah. I think, like, I know when I first started, I was terrified, because I was like, oh, organ transplant, like what? That's crazy. Can I do that? But you get a lot of good training, you meet a lot of good people, and they kind of help you and guide you and make you feel confident. So I definitely would tell them, like, don't let the idea of, like, organ transplant or like stem cell transplant or whatever, like, scare them. Because it's really not as bad as it sounds. And then just getting involved in ASHI, I mean, you're in a field with so many, like, great people and mentors and things like that. And I just recommend doing it. Like, there's no other way to say it. Just do it, because you're gonna meet like so many great people. It's gonna help you advance your career. Like for me, I started in the Technologist Affairs Committee, and I didn't know anybody. I knew Ron Ying, that was it. But now I feel like I've made so many great met so many great friends, so many great mentors. And now I'm chair of it. And, like, I would have never thought in the year and a half or something that I've been in it, that I would chair. Like, what? But I'm doing it. I love it. And you're advancing your professional career. That's really I think one of, like, the major reasons to get involved. Meet the great people, advance your career. You, like, there's so many good reasons. It can go on forever.
Yeah, so actually you bring up a really, really good point. So we know how you made your way into HLA. And so you bring up this really great point, that something that has meant so much to you is really not just the work that you do to get your patients transplanted and to help them keep their transplant, but to be a really active member of our professional society, of the American Society of Histocompatibility and Immunogenetics. And you have started off on the Technologist Affairs Committee, and you're the chair. That's a super big deal. What other types of volunteer activities do you see yourself doing for ASHI? And that's not the only volunteer activity that you've done for ASHI. So why don't you just talk a little bit about your socias? And so tell us what is the future for you and your service to ASHI, and also what do other people need to be thinking about in service to ASHI?
Well, I think just don't be afraid to be yourself. Like, for everyone else, just be yourself, join a committee, and you being yourself is going to help that committee truly. It takes a group of people to make these things happen. It's not just you. And so that was something that I learned really quick. My TAC, I love them. Shout out to my TAC. Oh, they're the best committee. But I never feel like alone. I never feel, just being chair that I have all these responsibilities, things like that. I always have my group. I always have, my back covered. They're awesome. Just shout out to them.
Tell us about your service at the annual meeting. Tell us about your social media ambassador stuff.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so not only do I do TAC, but at the annual meeting, I actually got asked to take over ASHI's Instagram, which was really, really fun. It was definitely a learning point for me because I had never done anything like that. So the first couple times the videos were too short. So if you saw me live like 5 times in a row, I apologize. That was just me trying to figure out how to do that. But yeah, it's fun, the more you get involved, the more people recognize you, the more people like want to hear your voice and they want to hear these things. It was my first meeting and I got asked to do that, which was crazy. And it sounds scary at first, but you just kind of talk about like, oh, how was your day? How was this? What did you experience? Things like that. And you just get talking and there's a lot going on at those meetings and a lot of good stuff too. And you just get going and you just get going. And it's actually harder to stop than it is to, once you get that flow, than it is to think about like what you're going to say at first. Once you get going, you're just like, go.
Oh. And Katie, that was so fun that you did the Instagram takeover at the meeting. So that was your very first meeting in Anaheim this past year. What did you find most inspiring?
There was a lot. Truthfully, there was a lot. I really think just being in a room full of just people who I think are just rock stars, like actually rock. Like I want to be like, like Kelly, like Jeremy, like Eric, like, Dr. Like all these people, like I'm just like surrounded by these like actually celebrities. And I'm like, I want to be like them one day. And Dr. Lusky, him too. I could go on and on. There's a bunch of people. Being in the same rooms as them was incredible. I think that was like the most inspiring thing to me, knowing what all these people have done and what they've accomplished in the field. I want to be that one day.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the kind words. Kelly and Jeremy are really the stars, and let's be honest, it's mostly Kelly. It is. Exactly.
It's a true story.
It's a true story. Yes,
no lies were told.
Yes, exactly. See, we digress. But I did want to ask you, Katie, about something you mentioned that I've heard a number of people say on the podcast and like at the annual meeting and my own staff, which is like being involved in ASHI comes with a certain amount of like, for lack of a better description, I'm going to say fear. Like fear of like not fitting in, fear of not knowing enough, fear of being wrong or like chastised. And obviously you've overcome whatever hesitation you had in that realm, but how would you help those who are new and still have that sort of like internal feeling towards becoming a member?
Yeah. Any new thing, I think anyone's going to feel fear. It's a new thing, it's new. And there's a lot of, thoughts in your head, like you said, like, oh, like, what if I mess up? What if I don't know? But like I said, I have my committee around me and you're never alone. Like, even if I do mess up, I have my committee to help me. I have not only my committee, but like, the board, I have, you guys, like there are my director, my supervisor, there are so many people I could go to, if I need anything. And I think that's really what made me feel comfortable, and kind of get past that fear and hesitation, is that, you're not alone and it's fun. It's, just do it. Like, just do it. Just get over it. Just do it.
So Katie, does that mean that once you dug in, you felt like there was really nothing to be afraid of to begin with?
Yeah,
for the most part.
absolutely. I think the first I don't know, 5 minutes into the first meeting, I was like, okay, this really isn't that bad. I'm okay. And then I remember like my first meeting as chair or co-chair even, because I started like leading the meetings as co-chair. And I was like terrified of that too. But you just, there's an agenda, you go through the agenda, everyone adds to the conversation, and it like, it's just kind of like friends talking and getting things done and accomplishing our goals. And it's fun. You're accomplishing really great things for a really great community.
Yeah, I
think
think what you said is really important, because what you said is also my experience with what we do in general. It's big, it's impactful, it's super complicated. It seems so overwhelming at times, but I know that at any given moment, if I feel out of my depth, Eric is a phone call away.
Right.
My colleague Taba Karadman is a call away. Sam Ho is a call away. Massimo Mangiola is a call away. Like, all of these wonderful people are just a call away. And I feel like our community is so accessible, so approachable. So one thing that I'm dying to know from you is, what does ASHI, in your opinion, need to do next? How can we grow and be impactful for the next 50 years?
Oh boy. I really think just spreading the word, getting the word out there, getting more people involved, knowing that, you're not alone if you want to be involved, knowing that it's not as scary, and, just getting the word out there for all these opportunities that ASHI has is really, I think, the biggest thing, for the next 50 years, to get people involved and keep ASHI growing and making it, better one day at a time for the entire community.
Katie, one of the biggest benefits that I've found going to the meeting is making those connections that Kelly was talking about. Do you feel like you had ample opportunity at the meeting to build some connections, to build some network within the HLA community? And what did you enjoy most about that networking part of the meeting?
So for me, it was a little bit different because, like, I was already on TAC, but getting to meet my board members and my committee and things like that, and seeing those people in person and making those connections in person, that was super cool. Because you guys kind of already have a connection, like, through Zoom, but it's not real, if you like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not. So just building those connections with my TAC and like you guys and like just everybody that I met, it was really cool. This community is so welcoming, so just there for everybody. The amount of times I got asked about like my story or my thing, everyone's so interested in like your like way to HLA or your story, and that was crazy to me because I thought I was gonna be like hiding in the corner, and people were like, "Oh, hey," like I'm like, okay.
No, I think that's an interesting thing you mentioned, is that you go to a meeting and you recognize some faces, especially if it's someone you've seen on a webinar, if it's someone you've seen on a Zoom call and whatnot. But the majority of the people who are at the meeting are technologists who are busy doing the work at the bench, and you can connect with those people as far as what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and share your knowledge and share your experiences, and build connections with those people who can be really, really helpful to you in your career.
Absolutely. I mean, like, we learned things that, specifically like virtual cross-matching, things like that we're trying to implement in our lab now. Just talking to people and meeting new faces and, getting, like, what do you do like for cross-matching and things like that, for example. They'd be like, oh, virtual. And we're like, oh, we still do things preliminary. Like, so, that's just like one example, but you bring a lot of things back after talking to so many people to help better your lab.
So, Katie, I have one more really important question for you. I think all of us have a story for how we got into the HLA space and how we found ASHI. Some of us, myself included and yourself included, it was kind of serendipity, and we can't send Amy's son on a world tour. So, the clinical laboratory space is very competitive, especially right now when there's like a global shortage of talent in clinical laboratory medicine. In your view, how can ASHI make itself stand out to technologists, to those in training, to those getting their educations? How can we attract technologists to our fantastic specialty?
No, it's a shame. I wish more people did know about ASHI because it really is like, HLA and ASHI, truthfully, it is a great field. It's a great organization. So I do wish there was more people, that knew about it, that wanted to be in it. I think it really starts with like the academics. Because, you go out, like when I was on rotations, it was like blood bank, it was chemistry, it was micro, there's no HLA rotation. So you don't know, you don't know what you don't know. And if I knew, like, I honestly probably would have fallen in love, like, right then and there. And I would have never experienced, the 9 very sad months of my life that I was miserable. So I think it really does start with like the academics and the schools and getting the word out there to colleges that like, hey, there's more to CLS and there's more to this world than just your basic lab. And there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with it too.
Well, wise words from a wise gal who found her way to HLA. The future of HLA is here, and we're so glad that you are a part of it, Katie, and that you're going to lead us into the next 50 years. I think you're right. I think it's time for ASHI to get really involved in folks' education and to let the audience out there know ASHI does have a wonderful technologist recruitment and retention task force. And your board is working hard on ideas as well. So thanks so much for that input. You are right on.
Yeah, I've been saying for a long time, we need to do a Super Bowl commercial and just get the word out there about ASHI and make sure that everybody knows a Super Bowl commercial is the way. So far, I can't get anyone else on board, but
It's fair. Do they offer a discount for nonprofits? Awesome. Thank you very much, Katie. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you guys. And listeners, don't go away. We'll be right back after this with the tea.
Hi, ASHI. It's Katie from Albany, New York, and you are lucky enough to listen to the best HLA podcast out there. Cheers, guys.
Welcome back, dear listeners. It is time for the tea, and the tea is juicy today. As you know, the tea is a segment dedicated to answering questions from our listeners. And this question comes to us from a frustrated but anonymous listener who asks, has the CMS guidance been released yet for new regulations going into effect this month? And I have good news for you, dear listener. We have the tea. It just so happens that a couple of days ago, very recently, at the time that we record this month of December 2024, CMS has released red line guidance and updates to the proposed standards that are going into effect December 28th of 2024. And those can be found on the cms.gov website. I will not summarize them in full. I will say that if you go to the link for it, it begins on about page 256 of the document. It are the histocompatibility specific items, and they go into, sample requirements for histocompatibility labs to have relative to transplant patients, new directorship qualifications, all kinds of good stuff in there.
Are we allowed to say that CMS blessed us with this guidance? Are we allowed to? I feel like I just did.
Good part.
I'm gonna stay silent.
Well, you're so much more correct. You can't see her face right now if you're listening, but she gave me side eye. And so we will make sure that the link to the CMS guidance document is in the description for the podcast for easy access to reference for yourself, and make sure to review those, and be cognizant of the changes that are soon coming to us.
Just say, thank goodness you mentioned the page number where the relevant information starts. Or someone's going to visit that link and start reading from the beginning. They got 255 pages to go.
Oh,
that should
no,
tell
they'd
you,
be
right?
dead. It's like a 400-page document. They'd be dead by the time they got to page 256. Page 256 is where
That tells you a
the
whole lot, right?
histocompatibility juiciness starts.
Well, we got your
Yeah.
back, everyone. Just go right to 256. Start from there.
56.
And don't feel bad. It's not like you're opening a new book and starting at the end. No. Don't feel bad. Just go right to 256.
Yeah, we're here for you. And if you need career advice or advice on how to deal with something happening in your lab, visit our podcast page at ashi-hla.org/page/ASHI podcast. Or you can email us at info@ashi-hla.org and write the TEA in the subject line.
Back, everybody, to another Tech Talk, where we celebrate the incredible contributions of technologists in the HLA field. Today, I'm excited to shine a spotlight on someone who has made significant strides in antibody analysis, and that would be Molly Fisher from Johns Hopkins Immunogenetics Lab. Molly leads the antibody section of the lab and is known for her exceptional leadership. She's taken the initiative to thoroughly investigate new lots and emerging trends in HLA antibody analysis, ensuring that the lab stays at the forefront of all the advancements. What really sets Molly apart, though, is her dedication to educating new technologists. She doesn't just analyze data, she communicates her findings and helps her colleagues understand how to identify epitopes and antibody patterns more effectively. By doing this, Molly continues to better the lab and advance the field of HLA. Molly, your hard work and leadership are making a real difference. Not only to your colleagues, but also to your patients. We appreciate everything you do for the community. Thank you so much, Molly.
Yeah, it's incredible to hear the people's dedication, that Molly has towards, educating new members. And I mean, antibody analysis is a whole thing, as all of the listeners will appreciate. So well done, Molly.
Keep it going, Molly. Keep it going.
If you have a technologist that you'd like to spotlight, you can always nominate them by sharing their story with us. Email us at info@ashi-hla.org for a chance to feature them in an upcoming episode of Coffee and Compatibility. All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few moments to recap our thoughts on today's episode.
OMG. How excited is she to be a member of ASHI and be active in our society? Like, I kind of want to go back in time because I feel like that youthful energy is just awesome.
How excited are we to have that energy, right? That's the future. I think that's the future that we all want, fresh ideas, fresh perspectives, fresh enthusiasm for what we do and, who we are and what we can be. It's wonderful and really refreshing.
So encouraging. And I think more powerful than anything ASHI can point to say, come be part of our field because of this, or that the most powerful reason is going to be someone like her who says, I've had a great experience and I'd want this for my friends. I'd want this for other people who are looking at a career in the lab field.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, dear listeners, but the American Society of Histocompatibility and Immunogenetics is growing a core of social media ambassadors and ambassadors in general. And if you feel called to tell people about your story in HLA, your why in HLA, and to encourage folks to join our group, join our movement, join our society. You should do that. You should reach out to info@ashi-hla.org and let people know that you want to help out, that you want to spread the good word, and tell people about what we do. We've been to a lot of large, broader, generalized clinical laboratory meetings this year. We went to ASCP's meeting this year, and just kind of learned that we are the unintentionally best kept secret in clinical laboratory medicine, and we don't want to be. We don't want to be a secret. So yeah, like, get out there, do what Katie's doing. She's a great example.
Absolutely. And a Super Bowl commercial can change all of that. I'm just saying.
It could.
I mean, he's not wrong.
You need to talk to, is it Jay-Z? Is it Jay-Z that's doing Super Bowl halftime this year? You need to just reach out to your buddy Jay-Z. Jeremy, I know you guys are tight.
All right, I'll shoot him an email. See.
Thank you. Thank you. We would appreciate that.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Till next time. Bye.